Watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become actions. Watch your actions, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. Watch your character, it becomes your destiny. Greetings of the day to all my dear students. I hope that you all are doing well at your home. So, this is Shreya Jadhav welcoming you all to my e learning channel. And today we are going to learn English, Grade 9, Poem 7, The Duck and the Kangaroo, written by Edward Lear. So, before starting with the reading and explanation of the poem along with figures of speech, let us know something about the poet. Edward Lear, born on 12th May 1812, died 29th January 1888, was an English artist, illustrator, musician, author, and poet, now known mostly for his literary nonsense in poetry and prose, and especially his limericks, a form he popularized. His principal areas of work as an artist were threefold: as a draughtsman employed to illustrate birds and animals, making colored drawings during his journeys, which he reworked later, sometimes as plates for his travel books, as a minor illustrator of Alfred Lord Tennyson's poems. As an author, he is known principally for his popular nonsense collections of poems, songs, short stories, botanical drawings, recipes, and alphabets. He also composed and published 12 musical settings of Tennyson's poetry. Now, let us move ahead to the introduction for answers. Now, dear students, always keep in mind that whenever you are writing your question answers, try to initiate your answer with introduction. This creates a really good impact. So, here it is: poem's name, The Duck and the Kangaroo, poet's name, Edward Lear, genre, nonsense poetry, summary. This is a humorous poem of a kind known as nonsense verse. So now let us proceed towards the summary of the poem. In the poem The Duck and the Kangaroo, the poet tells us that we can get any difficult work done by others if we have the virtues of sweetness, politeness, and obedience. The duck represents kangaroo to make her visit the beautiful world by allowing her to ride on his back. The kangaroo accepts her wish because of her sweetness and politeness. Then kangaroo tells the duck about her wet, cold feet. At this, the duck buys 4 pairs of woolen socks and a cloak to cover herself. Besides, she assures the kangaroo that she would smoke cigar too. Thus, the kangaroo lets her ride on her tail, and they went for a pleasure tour to the world. So, in this poem, the duck tells the kangaroo that her life is bore in the pond and she wants to visit the beautiful world. But she is unable to do so as she cannot hop like the kangaroo. She requests the kangaroo to allow her to have a ride on his back. She assures the kangaroo that she would not speak anything except quack. The kangaroo tells the duck to let him consider about this. Then the kangaroo tells the duck that Her wet and cold feet can cause him rheumatitis. The duck sits on the rock and thinks about the solution of the problem. Then she buys 4 pairs of woolen socks and a clock to make herself warm. She also assures the kangaroo that she would smoke cigar too. Eventually, the kangaroo accepts the request of the duck. He tells the duck to sit steady and quiet at the end of his tail. They hopped the whole world 3 times and both felt very happy. So, this is all about the summary of the poem. Now, let us start the reading of the same. So, now let us begin the reading and explanation of it. The Duck and the Kangaroo. This is a humorous poem of a kind known as nonsense verse by Edward Lear. Read it and enjoy. So, this is the first paragraph. Said the duck to the kangaroo, "Good gracious, have you hope over the fields and the water too, as if you never would stop. My life is a bore in this nasty pond, and I long to go out in the world beyond. I wish I could hop like you," said the duck to the kangaroo. So, in the first poem, the first paragraph, actually, over here the difficult word is nasty, which means bad or unpleasant. So, the duck is awestruck or very pleasantly shocked to see the movement of the kangaroo. It expressed that the kangaroo could hop continuously over the fields and water bodies. The duck's life was boring as it remained in the pond all the time. It wished to see the world beyond the limits of the pond. It wishes that it could also hop like the kangaroo. The second para. "Please give me a ride on your back," said the duck to the kangaroo. "I would sit quite still and say nothing but quack the whole of a long day through, and we would go to D and the Chellibuli, over the land and over the sea. Please take me a ride, oh do," said the duck to the kangaroo. So over here, the difficult word is quack. That is basically the sound which is being done by the duck. And ride means to travel. So over here, the duck requests the kangaroo to give it a ride on its back. It promised that it would sit quietly and would just quack all day. The duck lists the places that they would visit as D and Jelliboli. It adds that they would hop over the land and the seas. Now, the third stanza says, "Said the kangaroo to the duck." This requires some little reflection. Perhaps, on the whole, it might bring me luck. And there seems but one objection, which is, if you will let me speak so bold, your feet are unpleasantly wet and cold, and would probably give me a rheumatitis, said the kangaroo. So over here, reflection means a thought, or we can say even pondering. Rheumatize, it is, we can say, a disease sort of thing. We can say no, pains in joint. Requires means to need. Objection means having problem. Bold over here means brave. Unpleasantly means not enjoying. Okay, so over here the kangaroo is replying that it had to think over it, that the idea could be good for him, but he had one objection, that the duck's wet and cold feet could give its body pain. The fourth stanza. Said the duck, as I sat on the rocks, I have thought over that completely, and I bought 4 pairs of worsted socks, which fit my web feet neatly, and to keep out of the cold, I have bought a clock, and every day a cigar I'll smoke, all to follow my own dear true love of kangaroo. So over here, clock means a shrug sort of thing to cover. Rock means a hard solid material. Worsted means woolen knitten socks. Web feet means, you all know, ducks have web feet, that is feet like web or having a piece of skin between the toes. Neatly means properly, and cigar is a roll of dry tobacco leaves. So over here the duck said that as it sat on the rocks during the day, it had thought over it. In order to avoid that, the duck had brought 4 pairs of worsted socks, which fitted its web shaped feet well. In order to stay warm, it would wear a shrug and also smoke a cigar every day. The duck would do all this to protect the kangaroo as it was a beloved. The fifth one. Said the kangaroo, I am ready, all in the moonlight's pale, but to balance me well, dear duck, sit steady, and quiet at the end of the tail. So away they went with hop and bound, and they hopped the whole world 3 times round. And who so happy, oh who, as the duck and the kangaroo? So over here in the last stanza, you can see the picture over here, no? That how the kangaroo is hopping and the duck is sitting at the end of the tail of the kangaroo. So the kangaroo, who was satisfied with duck's response and got ready for a ride. At night, when the sky was filled with pale light of moon, they started their trip with a hop. The kangaroo asked the duck to hold it firmly, and they traveled around the world 3 times. Both of them enjoyed each other's company. So, this is all about the explanation of the poem. I hope that every one of you have understood it. So now, dear students, we shall start with the figures of speech. So in the first paragraph, the first one is, said the duck to the kangaroo, good gracious, have you hop. So over here, the first figure of speech will be exclamation, because you can see that over here 2 exclamation marks are being put. So this will become exclamation. The second figure of speech over here will be alliteration. You can see over here, alliteration means use of consonant sound for the poetic effect, is known as alliteration. So over here we have good and gracious. So both of them are starting with G. And you have how and hop. So both of them are starting with H. So that will become exclamation as well as alliteration. Now the next one, that is the second one, over the fields and the water too. So over here, this will become antithesis. Now what is antithesis? The use of opposite words is known as antithesis. So over here, field and water, these two are opposite in nature. The next one is the third one, as if you never would stop. So over here we have litotes, that is use of negation is done to convey something positive. So over here the word never is being used to convey a positive meaning. So this will become litotes. The next one is exclamation, that is an exclamatory mark is being used at the end. The next one is my life is poor in this nasty pond. So over here the figure of speech will be personification, that is a human quality or an attribute is being given to a non-living object or an inanimate object. So over here the life is bore. Now bore is a quality which is usually given to human beings. Nasty means something which is bad. So over here we can say bore and nasty are the human qualities which are given to pond and life. The next figure of speech over here will become hyperbole, and that is over exaggerated sentence is being put forward, that the duck's life has become so dull and it does not want to stay in this nasty or bad, unpleasant pond. The next one is, and I long to go out in the world beyond. So over here the figure of speech is exclamation. You all can see that at the end we have an exclamation mark. The next one is, I wish I could hop like you, said the duck to the kangaroo. So over here the figure of speech would be simile. That is, we have word like over here. A direct comparison is being made, that he wished that he also means the duck could hop like the kangaroo. So this will become simile. The next one is repetition. So over here you can see that the words I is being repeated twice, and we have the word the which is also being repeated twice. The third figure of speech over here is exclamation. As you can see that we have an exclamatory mark after you. The next one, the second paragraph. Please give me a ride on your back, said the duck to the kangaroo. So over here the first figure of speech will become exclamation. Why? Because an exclamatory mark is being put to draw the reader's attention. Over here the second figure of speech would be synecdoche. What is synecdoche? A part stands for a whole and a whole stands for a part. So over here you can say back represents the whole kangaroo. So this will become synecdoche. The next one will be repetition. Over here words like the is being repeated twice. The next one is, I would sit quite still and say nothing but quack. So over here the figure of speech will be onomatopoeia, that is any sounds which are being produced is known as onomatopoeia. So over here we have that sound quack, which is usually being made by ducks. The next one is the whole of the long day through. So what would come over here? Exclamation, as exclamatory mark is being used. In the above one we have one more figure of speech, that is litotes, which says nothing. So that is also a negation. The next one is, and we would go to the D and the jelly bow lee. So over here the figure of speech would be internal rhyme, that the words are being rhyming in the same line is considered as internal rhyme. So over here we have D and Lee, so that will become internal rhyme. Then we have repetition, so over here words like and the are being repeated. Over the land, over the sea, so over here we have antithesis, that is use of opposite words in one single line, so that will be land and sea, those two are opposite words, so that will be antithesis. Then we have alliteration, that we have we have repetition over here, that means over here words are being repeated, like over the, those two words are being repeated twice. The next one is please take me a ride, oh do, said the duck to the kangaroo. So over here the first figure of speech would be exclamation. Why? Because an exclamatory mark is being used not once but twice. And the next one is repetition, that is the is being repeated twice. The third one is said the kangaroo to the duck. This requires some little reflection. So over here that will become alliteration. So that is repetition of consonant sound, that is requires and reflection. The sound R is being repeated. Then we have the word the and this, so that also would be considered as alliteration. Then you don't have figures of speech in the next three lines, that is from perhaps to speak so bold, you do not have any figure of speech over there. The third last line would be your feet are unpleasantly wet and cold. So over here this figure of speech will become synecdoche. That is, a part stands for a whole or a whole stands for a part, and usually the body parts are being mentioned over here. So we have feet, so that will become synecdoche. The next one is and would probably give me a rheumatize, said the kangaroo. So over here we have exclamation, as an exclamation mark is being used. The fourth one is said the duck, as I sat on the rocks, I have thought over that completely. So over here the figure of speech will become alliteration, because the consonant sounds are being repeated, like said, set, s is being repeated. Then we have thought and that, th is being repeated. The next one is and I bought 4 pairs of worsted socks which fit my web feet neatly. So over here we have synecdoche, that is a part stands for a whole or a whole stands for a part. So over here we have webbed feet, so that will become synecdoche. The next one is alliteration, that is the consonant sound is being used in the words. So over here we have words like worsted, which and web. The next one is we have 4 lines together, that is and keep out the cold, I have bought a clock. And every day a cigar I'll smoke, all to follow my own dear true love of a kangaroo. So over here you have 4 figures of speech. The first one is alliteration. Over here the consonant sound is being repeated, like the C letter is being repeated in cold, cigar, clock. Then we have repetition, that means the word end is being repeated many times, the is being repeated many times. The next one is anastrophe, that is inversion in the construction of the sentence for poetic effect, that is jumbling of the words. The next one is, we can say, exclamation, because we have an exclamatory mark at the end, love of a kangaroo. The next one, the fifth stanza, that is, said the kangaroo, I am ready. So over here we have two figures of speech. The first one is exclamation. As you all can see at the end, we have an exclamation mark. And the next one is anastrophe, that is an inversion in construction of sentence. The sentence is given in a jumbled form. The next one is, but to balance me well, dear duck, sit study. So over here we have an exclamatory mark, so it is an exclamation, and quite at the end of my tail. So over here we have two figure of speech. One is exclamation and the other one is synecdoche. How synecdoche? As you all know that a part stands for a whole and a whole stands for a part. So over here tail represents the kangaroo. So away they went with a hop and a bound. So over here we have alliteration, that is, we have words like away and end. So that a sound is being repeated. The next one is, and they hopped the whole world 3 times around. So this will become a hyperbole. That is, this is an over-exaggerated statement. It is not possible for a kangaroo and the duck to travel the whole world thrice, but still, this is being used for the poetic effect. The next one is, and who so happy, oh who, as the duck and the kangaroo. So the last two lines, two figures of speech. The first one is interrogation, that is, you can see that at the end there is a question mark. And the next one is repetition, because over here words who and the are being repeated twice for the poetic effect. So dear students, this is all about the explanation of the figures of speech. So, in the poem The Duck and the Kangaroo, the poet tells us that we can get any difficult work done by others if we have the virtues of sweetness, politeness, and obedience. The duck requests the kangaroo to make her visit the beautiful world by allowing her to ride on his back. The kangaroo accepts her wish because of her sweetness and politeness. Then kangaroo tells the duck about her wet cold feet. At this, the duck buys 4 pairs of woolen socks and a cloak to cover herself. Besides, she assures the kangaroo that she would smoke cigar too. Thus the kangaroo lets her ride on her tail, and they went for a pleasure tour to the world. In this poem, the duck tells the kangaroo that her life is bored in the pond and she wants to visit the beautiful world. But she is unable to do so as she cannot hop like the kangaroo. She requests the kangaroo to allow her a ride on his back. She assures the kangaroo that she would not speak anything except quack. The kangaroo tells the duck to let him consider about this. Then the kangaroo tells the duck that her wet and cold feet can cause him rheumatiz. The duck sits on the rock and thinks about the solution of the problem. Then she buys 4 pairs of woolen socks and a cloak to make herself warm. She also assures the kangaroo that she would smoke cigar too. Eventually, the kangaroo accepts the request of the duck. He tells the duck to sit steady and quiet at the end of his tail. They hopped the whole world 3 times and both felt very happy. So, dear students, I hope you understood today's poetry, that is the duck and the kangaroo. Thank you for watching and have a nice day. If you still find any doubt or queries, you can comment down in the comment section below. Thank you very much and have a great day.